Hi guys, welcome to a very special episode of Tea Time with Eyek. We are 2.5 weeks away from the presidential election here in Nigeria, and I have a bunch of amazing people who are representing the major candidates in this election. We're gonna have a conversation, and we're gonna get down to the nitty-gritty of who you should vote for and why it matters. We're gonna spill all of that tea and more. Thank you for joining me. My name is Eyek, and this is Tea Time with Eyek. All right, guys, so I'm here with Tracy and Ruki. Tracy has been a diehard supporter of Fela Durotoye. She's like, listen, Fela Durotoye or nothing. And then Ruki, actually, to some degree, is still trying to figure things out with the new development with this coalition of sorts that was that kind of came together sort of at the last minute. So before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about this coalition. So like this week or so, Auntie Obi, as I like to call her, she's my auntie in my head. Actually, I don't know her. Dr. Obi Ezekwesili announced that she's stepping down. There's this open letter on Instagram and such that there's this coalition being created, PAC. What are the benefits? Like this new PAC, like 2 minutes before the election. Okay, let me stop. 2 weeks or so before the election. I mean, how is it beneficial at this stage in the game?
Okay, in no particular order. I would say the first benefit is that we are following the not too young to run bill. It's just showing that it's actually coming to play, that we're trying to implement it. The second is that we're seeing new faces in the game of politics in Nigeria. And third, you're seeing people who are trying to promote transparency, integrity, and a new Nigeria, basically what most of them grew up to know Nigeria to be as against what it is now. So there's three benefits.
Okay, so sorry to cut you off, but
Sure.
Okay, so we're hearing the not too young to run, but I mean, we have some people, they kind of up there in age. I mean, Auntie Obi, she's not,
not particularly.
we didn't go to high school at the same time, you know what I'm saying? So there's that question, it draws into question, is it just politics as usual, business as usual, just with a different face? So, I mean, we have that fresh person coming in, Durotoye, which Tracy, you know, you're kind of like, so let's tell me more, because I need to understand.
So basically, you just answered the question, your new faces. Yes, she's not particularly your 2019 millennial, but
Is she a new face?
She's not a new face in politics, but again, in a different position. If you're looking at it from a different perspective, she's coming from a place of integrity, transparency. She's in between, she's in the middle, she understands the old and the new. So she's that balance. And we need to start from somewhere. We can't just wake up and say, okay, not too young to run, and then you put a 30-something-year-old, a 25-year-old, or a 40-something-year-old there in that position. But however, it's a difference. So it's a paradigm shift of where we are, where we used to be, where we are, and where we're going. So looking at her and the PAC and the people in the PAC, I mean, Fela on his own is quite a young man. He's in his early 40s. I hope I'm correct. 46. So if you ask me, we're stepping it down a bit, but it's going to happen gradually. It's not just going to happen overnight. So the younger people, this is more of an eye-opener that eventually you will get there, but not necessarily now.
Okay, so you mentioned that in between. Tracy, the vibe that I'm getting generally when people have a discussion about Durotoye, I mean, some people have likened him to the Obama of our time, the this of our time. He's supposed to be that middleman. So then how does that come in now with this new coalition, with Obi, these people? So tell me a little bit and before we even go into kind of the manifesto, Durotoye's manifesto and sorts, I want to talk about, so far, what impact has Fela Durotoye made on any community that he's a part of? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
All right, so I like that you asked that. So for me, Fela's not just coming out as like, I want to come and become like president of Nigeria, and he's never done anything. He had a project that he carried out in partnership with Mobile. When he realized that a lot of Nigerian students were failing their JAMB, I mean, that particular year when he did it, forgive me for not having specifics, like the math rate was like an all-time low. So like they failed like almost woefully. So what he did was get a team of like young graduates from like statistics, graduates of statistics, mathematics, engineering, and the rest of them, teamed up with Mobile to provide math sets for them to enable the learning, and provided a center for them. And they taught these kids. And that same year in Lagos State, when they wrote the next jam, there was a bump up in their scores.
Okay.
He was doing this from his individual pocket. He wasn't a counselor. He wasn't a local government chairman. This is what those local government chairmen are supposed to do. An individual with his own money, partnered with a company and did it, right? And then he did the motion makeover, where he got a team of painters and stuff like that to like paint buildings and beautify the place because it was looking like a slum.
Yeah.
So now I'm saying that don't just come with a 10-point agenda and say, I'm going to do this, do this, do this. From where you're coming from, what have you done?
Well,
That's what she's saying.
Yeah, but you know what? To some degree, Mr. Durotoye, he's given us his manifesto. That's a 10-point agenda.
Yeah, he has
So-
his manifesto, but
so-
I'm saying he has done something.
'Cause
So we
you
can
asked-
believe
so
the
his
credibility of his manifesto. He's
based
not
on
giving
a
you
math set.
well,
Based on providing math sets.
well, it wasn't
And
about the
some
math set, it's
other
about the
initiatives.
value. It's about the value that he impacted. It
Okay.
goes beyond the math set to the fact that these children actually passed and can now get into universities to become the engineers who would hopefully do the next Facebook of the next generation, put Nigeria on the map. Cyclic effect.
So it doesn't always have to be on a national level. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a national contribution.
Exactly.
You don't necessarily have to be this minister
Build well,
Exactly.
borehole
Exactly.
wells
in every
the
state or every
No.
village.
These are
So
the typical ones.
And that
Yeah.
tells us that if he did this on that with such limited resources as an individual can have, would you
With
imagine what he can
support,
do as a president with all those resources at his disposal
Yeah.
and with the right people working with him? Can you imagine?
yeah, I mean, hey, that sounds very promising. But you know, let's go back to the debate because he was calling some people delectable. And this is his colleague. There was a comment that he made about one of his colleagues that she's delectable, something along those lines. But he was trying to like hail her and praise her, and people on Twitter were not having it. They were taking to question like, why are you sexualizing your colleague? If it were a male colleague, would you call him delectable? Then it also draws into question, I mean, they're from a religious family. I mean, they talk about church and stuff, and they're like, okay, doesn't mean that you're now doing your own low-key having affairs, etc. This one that you're out here sexualizing. So I mean, do you think that has had any impact on his image? And then from there, I want us to now tie everything in his role in the pact. But I want you to tell me what impact do you think those kinds of commentaries have had on him, if any at all?
Well, first of all, I'm not aware of the comment, so I cannot expressly speak of it, of what happened at that time. But I would say this, I mean, it's almost impossible to be running for any kind of position without people bringing things that you say or putting it to light. But I would say that that's probably a harmless comment. I mean,
Okay.
if he called somebody delectable, they probably have a long relationship, you know. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But when I say long relationship, I mean like working
feel free.
relationship, right?
But
And at the same time, we cannot, you know, box him to a corner because he's a Christian and he's proud of it. I mean, our president is a Muslim, and we're allowing him practice his religion in peace as well as be the president. I believe we can allow Fela to practice his religion in
well,
peace.
the issue, I don't think the issue
was
was
just
him
a choice of
practicing.
word?
Yes, and the
No,
fact
but-
that it came off to people as him sexualizing someone.
Well,
I mean,
if you ask me, it's just a comment. So the word
Okay.
delectable in itself, you can use it for anybody.
For anything.
Okay.
Not it might not necessarily be a sexual innuendo in any way, but you're delectable, Eyek. Simple. That doesn't mean I have that doesn't mean
Any
I
such-
any such you know perception about you in my head.
it's just it's an adjective.
And we all
Thank
know,
you.
and we all know that the streets of Twitter are not safe. Come on,
You can say
those
air,
Twitter people,
and it's
I
a fight.
mean,
Like
and somebody's like, "Why you gotta breathe?"
exactly. You know how Twitter can be.
Yeah.
So now, with this new development, from my understanding, as of right now, Fela Durotoye is kind of a part of the pact, or he's open
He is
to,
part
or
of
he's
the pact.
officially okay. He's
Part of
officially a
the
part of the
pact,
pact. So, what does that mean for the pact? What does that mean for Fela Durotoye and his party? I mean, there are stipulations, as we kind of discussed off camera. He can't just say, "Oh, I'm not representing this party now. I'm now joining this pact." So then, what does that mean? How does that now look? 2 weeks to the election, who should people be voting for if they're? Do you understand?
Okay, going by Nigerian law, INEC, you can't just step down from the election 2 weeks to.
I think the last day
voting
was
date.
November 7th or 17th.
Yeah.
Early
So
November.
basically, it's a no-brainer. All they're trying to tell people that we are coming together to form a stronger force against these two parties who, quote and unquote, believe they're godfathers and Nigeria belongs to them. So they first of all want to break that yoke, but it's not happening this year. However, I'm still with my party, knowing fully well that according to the law, I can't just step down. But as we have come together and we've agreed, whoever comes up as the president-elect, all my supporters should please vote for that person. So that's what it is. Now, what they need to do is to invest hugely in creating an awareness to their supporters, because not a lot of people have this information, and it's definitely not going to happen on Instagram, Twitter. Yes, that would have an impact, but are they getting to the grassroots, which are your typical bus drivers, the guys at the parks, which are the people that are really going to step out to really vote? Those of us on social media, yes, a small percent, and I give you numbers. Instagram in Nigeria is about, I may not be specific because this number was some years ago. The population of Nigerian youths that are on Instagram is about 50%. Now that 50%, about 20% will go out there and actually vote. The rest will vote on Instagram and on social media. So what I would advise the coalition is go out there and do serious awareness to the grassroots, as against just sticking on news platforms and social media platforms.
So this new initiative, I get the sense that like it's a good starting point that will really get us nice and ready for the next election.
Absolutely.
Well,
I was going to say.
Or what do you think, Tracy?
Well, I think definitely, first of all, I'm all about them putting up a good fight. They should put up a good fight. I'm not ready for any kind of landslide victory where one man just takes all the votes and then these guys are left to share one paltry 100,000 votes. No, we're not about that. We actually want them to put up a good fight so that we're sending a message forward to 2023. 24 to 2023 that we're coming for you. If you don't do your work in these 4 years, there'll be people that are ready and have the voting power to take you out of that seat. You need to wake up.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it from these wonderful, delectable ladies. I mean, we have a lot to look forward to, not just in this election, but elections to come. But before we close out on the 2019 election, we're going to be talking about the two biggest or the most notable contenders in this election. Not that Durotoye isn't, don't get me wrong. We're going to be talking to Atiku and Buhari supporters. Okay, they're obviously not on the same ticket, but you know what I mean. So we're going to be sitting down with two friends. Hopefully they'll remain friends at the end of this discussion. But thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
I mean, whatever happens, Nigeria is in God's hands. Let's just say that, right?
Absolutely, yes, definitely. A new Nigeria.
Yeah.
Let's pray on that.
I know, right?
Thank you, guys.
50,000 on their dead bodies, and that's all that happens to their families. Don't give me that.
Videos, I tell you very clearly.
the media now at the moment?
See, I can take a video right now where in military uniform and say some things about Buhari and you buy it.
Oh,
because do you know me? Do you know, of course.
From the front line.
Why not?
Really?
Why not? Why not? I just tell people don't have opinions. Really?
Oseghale, just answer the question. So where's the money going? What I expect you to say is, however, his plan is to curb all that money first before dispersing it back into the economy. It's just unfortunate.
Do you have the